Of course, those of you just joining us, we've added a lot of radio channels across the country. You've joined us on a great day as the Monday after the regular season ends. Michael Lombardi, we've got big news, breaking news as we start the show. The Arizona Cardinals have fired coach Kliff Kingsbury, who 10 months ago signed a contract extension through 2027. Kingsbury out. Also, Steve Keim is out. Your reaction?
Well, I mean, I think this was expected, right? And certainly this was not the way that Michael Bidwell and the team thought they would go. I don't know what they're going. I mean, Keim isn't expected back. I think Adrian Wilson and there's another gentleman that have assumed the duties as co-general managers. I hear they're in line to get that job, but it'll be fascinating where this takes off. I mean, we know Denver has an opening. We know Indianapolis has an opening. We also know that Houston now has an opening. And where does the Sean Payton sweepstakes end up? And talking to people in the league yesterday about Sean, I feel like unless a team has assets to give the Saints, high assets, I'd find it hard to believe he's going to end up going there. For example, Denver doesn't have a first-round pick. Hard to go there. The Rams, if that job opens up with Sean McVay leaving, they don't have first-round picks. And if you're going to pay somebody over $20 million a year to run your organization, the team that owns his rights is going to expect a lot back for him.
Michael, it was a precipitous fall for Kingsbury. Accelerated. Remember, 11-6, and then they go to Los Angeles for that wild card game last year, and something seemed off. And then this offseason was tumultuous with Kyler Murray kind of holding the organization ransom. And here you have a 4-13 finish where nothing ever felt right for the Cardinals this year.
Yeah, I mean, look, and it all started. Look, it's going to be funny. The only one who's left standing is the guy who demanded to get his contract extension, and that's Kyler Murray. I mean, think about it. He's the only one left standing. They did everything to make him happy, and now they're all unhappy. I mean, and this is what happens, He's happy. He's got his money. He's not going anywhere. They're out of work. And all it would have taken would have been a little bit of restraint, saying simply, no, let's just wait. Let's hold on here. Let's not get carried away with where we are as a football team. We lost a playoff game to the Rams. It wasn't close last year. Let's just see where we go with this. But I do think their team building from Keim's insistence on signing older players, veteran players, has never been very good. I think Kliff Kingsbury is probably better suited to become an offensive coordinator somewhere as opposed to a head coach.
Yeah, I think you're right. So breaking news here as we start off the Lombardi Line on a Monday on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Kliff Kingsbury is out. He had a disastrous tenure as a head coach. He was a bad head coach in college. You mentioned then he was signed at USC to run the offense there, flipped it to that job with Arizona after they got rid of Steve Wilkes after one season. So interesting run for Kliff Kingsbury, who's just 43. Like you mentioned, probably an OC job in his future. Last night, Lovie Smith, after Houston went to Indianapolis and beat the Colts, Lovie was relieved of his job after one season there with the Texans.
Not surprising at all. Look, Lovie is 27. I think he won his 28th game in the last 8 years as a head coach yesterday on a 4th and 20 miraculous play that they made and the 2-point conversion. So, look, we knew it. If you listen to the Lombardi Line on weekends 10 to 12, we said that they were going to play hard. We said that they would compete. And we knew Lovie was going to get fired, and we knew there was no communication between Lovie and the front office about losing the game for this potential first-round pick. Now, what strikes me as almost bizarre is the reaction by people that Houston won the game. Like, when you react like that, you've never been in a coach's position. He's going to do everything in his power to win, and the front office can't fire him the next day and tell him not to win. So, it was ridiculous. And then the question I have to you, Patrick, is this. Did I miss the memo? But is Troy Aikman available in the draft this year? Is Peyton Manning available in the draft this year? Oh, it's Bryce Young now that becomes the guy that everybody has to have. Are we sure Bryce Young is the best player ever to have played, that it's worth giving up everything for? I find it unbelievable. I didn't realize, and I must have missed this memo, that the Doug Flutie is back in vogue. The 5'10", 5'11", 189-pound quarterback is something people want to gravitate towards. I think Bryce Young is a great college player. I think he's 189 pounds. I think if we've learned anything this year by the amount of, 70 quarterbacks that have played, different quarterbacks have lined up behind center. We're going to get a playoff game where we might have Skylar Thompson playing. We might have, Tyler Huntley playing. That size doesn't matter at the position.
We can throw up the draft order. You mentioned it. Houston with a 4th and 20 conversion, a 2-point conversion. That equals Chicago jumping and leapfrogging the Houston Texans to the 1 pick in the forthcoming draft. The Texans 2. Arizona, Kliff Kingsbury out 3. Indianapolis Colts, you have to imagine Jeff Saturday is not going to be back there 4.
I think he is. I do. I think he's going to be back.
Okay.
Did you listen to his commentary after the game? Did you listen to it? Talking about next year and how it's going to get better. He was spinning this thing forward. Yeah, he was spinning it forward.
So Saturday looks to be back.
I don't think anything that happens. Have you seen? Look, today Denver is already putting slips in for coaches. Quinn, Raheem Morris. I don't know who else they put one in. I think those 2 for right now. They put Dan Quinn, Raheem Morris, and DeMeco Ryans. Those 3 they've already put slips in. Has Indy put a slip in for anybody yet?
Haven't heard it.
Now they're going to have to interview some people that we know that, right? But have they? They're not like Denver fired their guy to get going, right? Denver fired their guy to get going, and they're going to get going. So, seriously, I'm just saying, they don't seem to be in a rush in Indianapolis.
And he's got a great relationship with the owner, of course, that being Jeff Saturday, so we shall see. Maybe he's got an inside track. Obviously, they'll have to suffice the Rooney Rule, but Indianapolis Colts, that's 1. How about the Houston Texans? Caserio is going to stay, it looks like, as the general manager. He'll get to choose another head coach. We've seen Denver line up for a bunch of coaches, as you just mentioned. Any rumblings as far as Houston? I know it's early.
I think this is Brian Flores' job. I think that the reason that Nick is surviving is because I think Nick, for all the Josh McCown conversation, I think Nick wanted to hire Brian Flores. And then when Flores filed that lawsuit against the league, I think that put a little bit of a damper into it, right? I think that became a problem. And because of that, they went in another direction. And that's where we started to hear about Josh McCown, and we started hearing different things. I think if he's allowed to hire Flores, I think that means he's going to stay. He wants to have alignment. Right now, that's a mess in Houston. It is a complete mess. And it's obvious by the disconnect between what happened on the field and what everybody thinks should have happened. But to me, I think when you break this down, it's pretty clear that he wanted to hire. And if he gets a chance to hire another guy again, then this is all because he went with the owner's choice, not the choice he wanted. But let's also put this in perspective too, please. Let's also say this. All this talk about having the first pick in the draft is really kind of comical. I mean, remember, Mitchell Trubisky went 2. Deshaun Watson went 12. Patrick Mahomes went 10. I think Josh Allen went 5, right? There's just because you have the first pick doesn't mean you get the best player.
Go to VSiN.com/subscribe to become a VSiN Pro subscriber today.